My 18th birthday party. October. Live out in the country in Tennessee. Dark as all kinds of fuck. Perfect chilly weather. Around 25 people all gathered at my house. We're playing manhunt. One guy runs off into woods. Everyone else waits an hour, then hunts him with paintball guns. Plan on multiple rounds through the night. Couple rounds go by, no big deal. My 10-year-old brother draws short straw. Almost didn't let him go hide, but he begged. What could happen? We tried to find him for 6 hours. Eventually find him terrified in a hunter perch thing in a tree. Friend who found him said he kicked him in the face and almost knocked him off the tree at first. I ask him why. He tells me that he heard me trying to find him below the perch hours earlier. He peeks out. It isn't fucking me. It isn't a fucking person. It stayed below the tree calling his name for a few hours. Ran off when it heard us coming to actually find him. Be me. Late at night playing Halo 3. Balls deep in some cough. I hear a knock at the door. The fuck.png. What the hell knocks this late at night? I go grab a kitchen knife and walk to the door. I look through the peephole. I see a skinny guy on the other side. Who is it? Danny. The hell is my neighbor doing knocking on my door? What do you want? Can I come in? No, sorry, bye. I go back to the couch to resume playing Halo. Knocking continues for a couple of minutes and Danny asking to come in. The knocking stops. Go back to the door and see Danny still standing there. He's looking right at the peephole. His eyes are glossy. Danny begins to walk to another house. I turn off everything and go to bed. I bring the kitchen knife with me to be sure no weird shit happens. After a strange night's sleep I wake up. After I get up and get breakfast I realize something. My face when I remember that Danny had died 2 weeks ago in a car crash. Be me. Be on a date. Late at night. We decided to take a walk through the park. Only to find some children still playing. Even though it was well past midnight. The lights go off around 9 p.m. They were playing in complete darkness. But something was different about these children. Their clothing was a bit off. Like they were wearing oversized or adult clothing. Their laughter was high-pitched and sinister. And their eyes were all fucked up. They were black. Petroleum black. We were terrified. We say nope.exe. We tried to leave the park. But the children surrounded us. Their smiles growing wider and wider. We felt an icy chill run down our spine. My skin filled with goosebumps. I could feel my hair literally raising. They were just staring at us. With their creepy smiles. Our survival instincts kick in. We ran. Never looking back. From that night on. We never saw the children in the park again. But I never forgot the sound of their chilling laughter. Or the sight of their eyes. And to this day, people in the suburbs still whisper about the creepy black-eyed children who play in the park late at night. Be my father. 16 or 17 years old. Living in rural town in Castile, Spain. One of his friends recently found a cave and he wants to go explore it. Dad accepts. They arrive at the entrance. The entrance is rather big, but afterwards the tunnel turns smaller and they have to crouch to continue. After some walking, the tunnel starts gradually increasing in size and they can walk straight again. They walk for like 10 minutes, just a tunnel that goes deeper and deeper into the earth. My dad starts feeling weird vibes, something is not normal. Tells nothing to his friend, and they keep walking. Eventually they reach a cave. In one corner they see a man just laying in the ground. Hello? No response. They get a bit closer. He's sleeping. The man is unnaturally pale, like milk white. His hair is long enough to reach his knees. At first they thought it was a hobo, but also his white clothes are clean, he looks like he's good hygiene, and the man also has lots of gold jewelry on him. Man starts awakening and stands up. He's like 3.5 meters tall, around 12 feet for Americans, most likely more. He says something in a language they don't understand. He doesn't seem hostile, but my dad and his friends still freak out and rush for the exit. The man laughs as if he found it funny. Both my dad and his friend spend the rest of the day and the entire next day thinking about it. After that, decide to go back. The entrance is no longer there. Looks like there never was any cave there. They talk with the locals about it, no one ever heard of any cave in that location. Be me. 2013. Got married. For our honeymoon we went to Vegas. Get a room at the Circus. Realized too late it's a run-down casino, far gone from what I remembered. Basically in a budget. We just needed the room for two things really. Like a normal early marriage, we fucked all night. Literally we pass out from all the sex. Wife wakes me up around 3 a.m. She sounds scared. Anon, wake up. Anon. Ask wife what the fuck. She saw something in our room. A silhouette of a pale woman. Play brave, get up and look up everywhere in our room. Nothing. The walls are a bit thin, so I suggest maybe she just heard something and imagined it. Turn off the lights. She is cuddling next to me. An hour pass, wife sleeping. As I start to fall asleep I see something from the corner of my eye. I turn. Not something, but someone. A pale face peeking from the bathroom wall. Somehow I could not move. I could not talk. I want to scream. I want to wake up my wife. But I could not even move a muscle. All I could do was to stare at the face. Had some feminine features, or it was too skinny. Almost transparent. Like cigarette smoke. No eyes where eyes should be, just dark sockets. The lips were thin but show no emotion. Eventually the face began to recede. My eyes were watery. Not sure if because I could not even blink, shock, horror or all. When the pale face was gone. Was able to move again. Woke my wife up. We left minutes later. We have not had any paranormal experiences since then. B20. Basically homeless. Aunt offers me to stay in the summer cottage that belonged to my family. Cool, no rent. Spend summer in the family cottage. 15 minutes drive from the nearest town. The place has no electricity, but it does have a diesel generator that powers the place, however it's loud as fuck. Organize and clean during the day. Sleep when it gets dark. Be completely alone. One day, after being there for almost a week, hear disembodied talking around me. No biggie, maybe some group of people walking nearby. At night I turn on the generator for lighting and to charge my shit. Inside the fucking cottage. Hear disembodied laughing. Like mischievous children or chipmunk effect laughing. And it sounds close. Hee hee hee. Sometimes in different tones and at random intervals. Sometimes 5 cackles in a row. Sometimes 1, randomly, followed by hours of silent. I believed it was the generator making vibrations in the wood. I told myself that, to ease the nerves. Around 10 p.m., turn off the generator. Complete silence. I can hear the wind cracking through the windows. The laughing returns, but this time sounds like it's coming from outside. Decide to ignore it. Many weeks later see aunt. Told her about the laughing and the generator. She tells me, OMG Anon, you hear them too? Hear what? The gnomes. She tells me that almost everyone has heard them and kids can see them. And the whole forest is infested with them. And grandma said, if you are good you can hear them, but only if you are pure you can see them. But she called them duendes. First part. Be me. Be in grade school, maybe around 7 or 8 years old. One night, I had a strange dream where I was walking along a street in a village I have never been to. I somehow knew that I have to reach a specific room in a specific building by 8:30 a.m. to be picked up by my parents. Finally arrive at the building just a few minutes before 8:30, after having trouble finding it. The doors were locked and I started to panic. I went around the building and found a very small, maybe 1 foot wide, square window that was open. I climbed through the window into the building. I wandered through the hallways that all looked the same until I reached some kind of big hall. Looked at the big clock on the wall, it was 8:37 a.m. I just stood there for the rest of the dream, staring at the clock knowing that I was left behind. Second part. Be me. Be around 16 now. Be interested in photography and urban exploration. Meet with an online friend to visit some abandoned building that he found. We reached the village, after around an hour's drive. He has trouble finding the building. I tell him where he needs to go, even though I didn't even know where we are going. What the fuck. JPG, it's the building from my dream many years ago. We try to find a way in, but all the doors are welded and or screwed shut. Have this strange unconformable feeling in my guts and all my hair stood up. Out of curiosity, I try to see if the small window is there. It is, and it's open as well. Climb through and wander through the hallways. It's some kind of former military building, so it does look pretty much the same in every hallway. I arrive in the big central room. The mains fed clock stopped long ago, at 8:37. It puzzles me to this day, and I always get goosebumps thinking about it. Pick related, it's the actual clock in the building. Early 2000s. Be a young lad, 12 years old, staying with grandparents in Ohio. Grandpa and I spend a morning in town, running errands, picking things up for Christmas dinner, visiting the barber shop, etc. As we're out, it starts to really come down. Heavy snowfall. Freak storm. Grandpa says we'll have to cut our day short. Head back to the house where Grandma is waiting for us. On the way, we spot a figure on the side of the road walking in the opposite direction. Grandpa can't in good conscience let the guy walk in this weather. Stops and asks if he needs a lift but stops mid-sentence. Shoots me a concerned look, then asks the man to get in. Guy climbs into the back seat. He's a big guy, for you, with a huge beard and a 1,000-yard stare. He also stinks like shit. Grandpa whispers at me not to stare and physically forces my head forward. We drive for a while. The guy is stinking up the entire car, and Grandpa and I are holding our breath, when suddenly the smell is just gone and Grandpa busts a U-turn quickly. Confused. I'm fighting the urge to look back. Grandpa tells me it's fine, can look, the man is gone. I turn and I'm hit with a megaton of what the fucks. The bearded guy has disappeared. Asked Grandpa who that was. He says it's best not to talk about it, and by his tone I can tell he means that I should clam up, so I do. As we pass the spot where we picked up the stinky bearded guy, I see another figure by the side of the road. My skin crawls and I think, it's the same guy, even though the snow is so bad that we can't see who it is. Grandpa accelerates a bit. We barrel right past the person. Don't say a word until we get home. Asked him about this a few times before he died, and he always said he'd explain it sometime, but never did. Be me. Go to friend's ranch for in the woods fun. Set up multiple cams around campsite, put one watching feeder. First and second night, no deer, no hogs. Uneventful but still having fun. Third day, check cams around camp. We ain't found shit. MP4. Check feeder cam even though haven't seen any tracks/scat. What in the blue blazes. PNG. Pull pick off the ST and walk back to camp to show buddy. Completely stumped. Looks like coyote? Not a coyote. Go down to feeder with Buddy and stand in roughly same spot/distance from Cam. Line up perspective as best we can. Thing has to be 3 feet at the shoulder, maybe 4.75 feet length. Definitely not a regular coyote. Throw down a few heaping cups of dog food, retreat for the day. We'll check cams in a couple days. First night goes by, uneventful, boring, probably leaving tomorrow morning. Whole day nothing, finally crack open whiskey, sense nothing. Make fire and go to bed. Just before dawn, hear wild huffing and galloping hooves, coming straight for camp. Batten the hatches. Webm. Buddy is up and out before me. The fuck? Scramble out of tent finally. Deer scrambles to halt just outside camp and turns around to look downhill. Follow deer's gaze. Crazy fuck coyote is maybe 60 yards away, eyeballing the 3 of us. Deer is using us as cover. Bro, you're not with us. Raise up revolver and pop off 2 rounds. Be moron, not even close. Deer goes full speed through our camp. Crazy fuck coyote runs back into morning fog. No fucking idea what it was, honestly. Pig related, taken in South Texas near Laredo. 1993. B9 or 10. Dad worked in a janitorial supply distribution center. Northern Utah. Very rural. Moved there for a couple of years. Dad, being a salesman, had to travel around the cities, going directly to schools, churches, hospitals, businesses, trying to sell toilet paper and cleaning supplies in general. One night he arrived really freaked out. His pickup truck had a dent in the front and a smashed windshield. He was crying when he arrived home. Mom thought he might have hit someone in the road or something. Dad was very hesitant to tell us what happened. He talked in private with my mom, but I was able to overhear the conversation. He was driving in the middle of one of those rural roads. Still some sunlight but almost sundown. He saw what looked like a person in the distance. The person was walking toward my dad's truck. Middle of the road. Person began waving, trying to get my dad's attention. Dad pulled aside. When the person got closer, he notices that the person was covering his face. Feeling a bit intimidated, he did not stop the engine. He just hit the brakes. As the person got closer, he noticed that it was not a mask. Or if it was very realistic. The person seems to have a dog face. And as he talked, his dog mouth also moved. My dad was freaking out, thinking it was some sort of prank. When it got closer, the person had a human body, pants, shirt, and normal hands, but the face was of a dog. Black eyes, ears, and a mouth just like a dog. The person asked my dad to step out for a moment. He declined, and the person with the dog's face tried to open the door. When he looked forward, there was another person with a dog head as well, running toward the truck. He hit the gas and hit the dog person in front of him. The impact cracked his windshield. Got up and started sprinting right away. As he went faster, the 2 people were running behind his truck. Dad said he was like at 60+ miles per hour. Still on the rearview mirror. Eventually lost sight of them. Drove directly home. Be me. In my teens. Our grandmother used to live with us. Our mother's mother. She was mean and bitter all the way to the end. She was very mean towards me and my sister in particular. Maybe not physically aggressive but extremely verbally abusive. She scolds us about our appearance or how disorganized the house was. Eventually, one night she passed in her sleep. Despite her being a mean bitch and all, everyone cried. But not my sister and I. My mom even slapped my sister for being disrespectful at the funeral. She said, "I'm glad the bitch is gone," right next to my mom. We didn't like her and we couldn't even fake it. Many weeks passed by. Her room was turned into a sewing/computer room. Being a teen, I was glued to the old PC playing flash games and shit. But always felt uncomfortable late at night in that room. Then things began to happen to me and my sister. in that room. The first oddity we started noticing was the smell. At some random intervals the smell in the room changed to cigarette smoke. Grandma never smoked inside the house, but her breath always stinks of that nasty Marlboro Light smoke breath. When Grandma passed we changed everything, even the nasty carpet, and painted the room. But the smell came and went, sometimes as strong as if she were to be standing next to me. It was very hard to prove to our mother about the smell. She doubts us at first, but my sis and I could smell it maybe once or twice a week. Then there were the cold spells. Midsummer, during the day the room got cold as fuck. It was worse during the night. My skin shivers just remembering how cold it used to get. Then stuff randomly began falling or breaking. The speakers of the computer would drop or fall and hang from the wires. The sewing supplies would appear in the middle of the room, without any explanation of how they end up there. Being a teen, I was excited to have recorded on video. I used to set up my camera filming during the night, in the hopes of capturing something. But nothing. My sister once claimed that she could see her standing, looking at her in silence, with her judging eyes piercing at her, only to vanish in the blink of an eye. I believe her. My mom said we were making it up. That shit got me excited and scared at the same time. We consider calling her, to summon her, but remembering how she was in life made us a bit, not gonna lie, chicken shit scared of her. The weird part was that my mom sometimes talked about having dreams about her, and so did I. She looked peaceful in my dreams, not the angry old lady I remember. Sometimes she is very tall in my dreams, her presence menacing, the same way she felt to me when I was a kid. I believed because she died in her sleep she is caught in the middle. Not sure if she is trying to be mean or anything, but she does try to make herself noticed. Be me. 2 years ago. Live in Labrador, which is one of the most remote, unpopulated inner-woods parts of North America. An area larger than Germany but with less than 30,000 people living in it. Get devastating news that my grandmother passed away, was really close to her. Can't fly to Newfoundland for her funeral because unvaxxed. Have to drive out by myself the 2,000 kilometers, which is 1,250 miles for you burgers, journey across the Trans-Labrador Highway. One of the most remote, rarely traveled, major, roads in North America. Not shitting you, it's so remote you'd probably be the only human being within 100 kilometers, or 60 miles, for most of the journey, and you could go hours without seeing another car. Roughly 2 a.m. in the morning. Can barely keep my eyes open, promise myself I'll stop and sleep at the nearest truck stop, which up here are just tiny little pullovers, no buildings or lights or signs or anything. Pull into the next one, on the edge of a steep decline with a small stream at the bottom. Notice there's a motorcycle parked there, standing up with not a single person in sight. The fuck, right? The owner's probably camping in the woods, don't care. Naturally paranoid fucker anyways, so sleep with my doors locked and windows covered. Wake up around 10 in the morning. Motorcycle's still there, still no sign of anybody. Step outside to take a piss and get a better look over the decline at the stream in the daylight. There's a full pair of clothes and a motorcycle helmet just scattered all over the edge of the stream, and a helmet. A cooler that's been open and flung around with its contents, drinks and food, tossed around. Curiosity gets the better of me and I carefully scale down the steep decline and look around. The stream passes under the road through a culvert, which is only just a few feet from this scene. Smell a rusty, metallic stench coming from the culvert. Already uneasy from reading green texts. Have no plans to enter the culvert, but curiosity gets the best of me. I'm just going to go by the entrance, whip out my phone flashlight and peek inside, nothing more. Sound of the stream in the metal culvert is echoing and reverberating really loud as I approach. Fully expecting to see a dead body in there, probably the motorcyclist who fell in. Get to the entrance. Shine my light in. I shit you not. I shit you not. standing in there hunched over, was this thing that looked like a cross between a bear and gorilla, with a distinct humanoid shape, with its mouth wide open, its canines and eyes shining from the light of my flashlight reflecting on it. Nope, 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 nope. Stumble backwards away from the culvert and nearly fall over. Clamber up the steep incline on all fours. Can hear the frantic sloshing of the thing in the culvert like it's fighting against the current trying to get to me. Get back into car. Speed off. Inform the police in the next town along the way about the motorcycle and fucked up campsite and potential missing person and describe as best as I could the creature I saw in that culvert. Police say they'll investigate it, but I never really got any closure myself, since I continued my drive to my grandmother's funeral immediately after that. I got a story for you all. It's been a few years but I still remember it like it happened yesterday. Kinda annoying to be typing it out in greentext on a European keyboard, but fuck it, tradition and all that. B21, best friend just got his permanent driver's license and wants to use his car to go camping in the Alps in the south of France. It's me and 2 friends including the one with the car. We're thinking we can drive from Belgium all the way to the south of France in one day, so we leave in the morning. After hours of driving and a lot of stress for my best buddy, he's the only one who could drive, we decide to camp out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere since it's getting dark. This is somewhere in the south of France, no idea where exactly, but it was all small roads and forest all around us, with no lights, not even street lights. We find a clearing on the side of the road, park there, take our camping shit out of the trunk and head into the woods to find a suitable place to place our tent. At this point, the sun is almost gone and the forest is really dense, but luckily we find a clearing and quickly make a fire and set up our tent. We boil some water over the campfire in our pot and eat our instant noodles, smoke a cigarette, piss out the fire and get in the cramped tent to go to sleep. This is a small tent, so it had us lying in there shoulder to shoulder, all 3 of us next to each other, with me on the left side. It's a full moon, so there's some of that light shining through the canopy of trees onto the front of our tent. This is important. I'm an insomniac, so I was probably lying there with my eyes closed for about half an hour, when a light source to the left of me caught my attention through my closed eyelids. I open my eyes, look to my left and I see what looks like a flashlight in the distance, about 100 meters away, shining right onto our tent. I figure it's a forest ranger coming to tell us we can camp here or some shit, so I whisper to the other guys and ask if they're awake. They are, and they see the light too. We're discussing what to say to the guy when he inevitably tells us off, and we decide our bilingual Dutch/French speaking friend is to handle it, since me and my buddy can't speak French for shit. All the while this light is coming closer. At a certain distance, I would say about 20 meters away from the tent. Keep in mind it's hard to gauge distance of an outside light source when inside a tent, in a pitch black forest, except for the moonlight, the light just suddenly goes out completely. All of us shut the fuck up for a while, but we hear nothing, literally dead silent environment. After about 30 seconds I break the silence and ask the guys what the fuck that light was. Of course they didn't know either. Remember earlier I said the moon was shining on the front of our tent? Well, I look to the front of the tent and I see a fucking shadowy figure standing literally right in front of our tent, its silhouette cast by the moonlight. From the angle we were in you could clearly make out a torso, long arms to the side and about half of the length of its legs, but the head wasn't projected on the tent. Internally I'm freaking the fuck out at this point, so I grab my puny ass Swiss Army knife and look over to the guys. They see it too. My bilingual friend starts saying shit in French to this figure. Hello? Who are you? Stuff to that effect. No answer. This figure is just standing there with its long arms by its side, motionless. At this point I am convinced some fucking lunatic is ready to murder or rape us and my survival instinct takes over, so I open the Swiss knife, silently grabbed the zipper and then as quickly as I could I opened the tent and just jumped out to try to tackle this person to the ground in one fell swoop. I jump out and there is nothing there. Nothing at all. Me and my friends look around the tent, We shine our flashlight behind the closest trees, nothing. Now this is what makes it extra freaky. It was the middle of a dry summer and the forest floor was littered with dry-ass sticks and leaves. No fucking way anyone could step over to our tent without making a single sound, man nor animal, let alone nope out of there in the split second it took me to open the tent. This thing, whatever it was, somehow was able to sneak up to the front of our tent without stepping on the fucking floor. To rule out pareidolia, I went back in the tent, closed it up and looked to see if the figure we saw was somehow a figment of our imagination caused by clouds passing by the moon, or trees, or whatever. There were no shadows in front of our tent at all anymore. My bilingual friend took a scare shit behind the closest tree and then we noped the fuck out of the forest to sleep in the car that night. We just left the tent in the forest and came back to pick it up the morning after. Rest of the trip was uneventful. Anyone have any idea what we witnessed that night? I've googled cryptids from France but nothing came up that matched what we saw that night. If anyone of you has any ideas, please let me know. This is by far the creepiest shit me and my friends ever witnessed and it's a complete mystery. This wasn't paranormal, but true crime very similar to a scene in The Strangers. In 1993, I was home alone when I was 12 years old, as my mom was out with her girlfriends and wouldn't be back till after midnight. I was used to being by myself at night for at least half the week. My mom wasn't exactly mother of the year, so I wasn't frightened or anything. Until about 9:45 that evening. I heard a knock on our glass storm front door. I was immediately freaked out, because the house we rented was secluded and off a road that wasn't used that much. We never even met our closest neighbors, as the closest home was easily over 200 yards away, with a lot of vegetation in between. So I figured maybe I'll finally meet them. Instead, who I meet creeped me out hard. Very similar to that scene from The Strangers, it was a blonde, scrawny, strung-out chick, covered in track marks. She had also unscrewed the bulb of our front porch light to hide her appearance. I opened the front door but still had the storm glass door locked. Thank God too, because before she said a word, she was yanking on it. "Is Josh here? I'm his cousin, let me in, I need to see him," she yelled. I was freaked out but instinctively knew this was a setup for a robbery or worse. "No one lives here named Josh, lady. Stop yanking on my screen," I cried. She just stopped then and looked at me with harsh, cold, dead eyes. Softly muttering "Josh," under her breath. Just then, hiding to the left of the screen door, a small man appeared, startling me. "Open now," he screamed, kicking the glass exterior door and putting a huge crack in it. I was lucky it held. I immediately slammed the front door shut, locking the deadbolt. He kicked it again, smashing it, and proceeded to start SWAT team kicking the front door. I ran to the kitchen and called 911, but heard another kick that sounded like it was going to collapse at any moment. I remembered my mom had a Lady Smith 38 in her side dresser, so I ran into her room, snatched it and immediately positioned myself in the hallway aiming at the door. "I've called the police. I have a gun," I yelled on the top of my lungs. Boom. Another kick. Just then, right behind me I heard the window in our kitchen shatter. I ran into the kitchen, startled to see the stung-out, bleach-blonde chick crawling through, one hand already on the rim of the sink. She looked up, saw I was armed and pulled back out, cutting her hand in the process. Boom. Another kick, but this time with the sound of hinges getting ripped off wood. I froze. I didn't know which room to protect myself in. Paralyzed with fear that either way someone is getting in, as I couldn't be in the hallway and kitchen at the same time. I heard yelling outside, possibly the girl telling the man I had a gun, but couldn't be sure. "No. Fuck that little shit, he's dying now," I heard the man yell. Just then I heard the operator on the phone, sitting on the kitchen counter. "Hello? Hello? Can you speak to me please?" I yelled as loud as I could. "Send the police now. My address is XXX. Boom. Another kick. At this point the front door had splintered both of its hinges. I knew one more kick and it would come down. I decided to fire the .38 in the air to show them I was armed. Click. Click. Clink. It wasn't fucking loaded. My mom had a pistol, that I come to find out later, but never bought bullets. Boom, boom, boom. I could hear the man screaming in frustration, but the door held by some miracle. Then silence. I stood there between the hallway and the kitchen for what felt like hours. I remember hearing the operator threatening me with arrest if this was a prank. And then they were gone. The police never even came that night either. Nor did my mom. I sat curled up against a wall, too scared to even get up and talk on the phone. Eventually, after 7 hours or so, I heard my mom pull up. She found me shaking with her gun in my hands, and instead of hugging me and comforting me, she accused me of breaking the door. Like I said, Mother of the Year. Once it dawned on her what really happened, she called the police again. They finally came after an hour, and told us this couple had burglarized a home half a mile from ours and assaulted the old lady living there. Apparently, they had been doing this for weeks in the town for drug money, and were eventually apprehended. The fucked up part was, my mom knew the girl. Her mom had bought a couple of pieces of art from my mom, and that girl was actually in our home with her mom a month ago, looking at my mom's work. A month later I was living with my dad in another state. To this day, I still harbor resentment towards my mom for not being there, not buying fucking bullets, and not comforting me at all initially. A year later at the trial, I was called as a witness for the prosecution, and both of them got suspended sentences, and were back out on the streets in no time.